Okay, we're on Shabbat. Perek Yud Zayin Mishnah Dalet. We're going to continue our discussion, the Mishnah's study of the laws of Muktzeh on Shabbat. And in order to do this, we've learned that there are different categories of Muktzeh. There's something called the Klisha Malachto Leheter. We're going to see this, like a Kiddush cup. Malachto Leheter, I usually use it to make Kiddush. Then we said there was something called the Klisha Malachto Leisur, like a screwdriver. And then there's something called Muktzeh Mamash, something that didn't have any use at all, like a rock or a stick or what have you. And we're going to learn, and that's the fourth one. We're going to learn that there's a third category in here from the Mishnah, and then we're going to learn a halacha you probably didn't know. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi says, Kol kelim nitalim, all kinds of kelim nitalim can be moved, can be handled, for different reasons we'll see, but it depends on the reason. Okay, I mean, let's say, for example, for necessary, let's say, klib shemalach telis, or the Torah gufo, for its own use. Chutz min ha-masar hagadol, v'yated shel macharesha. Other than this big saw, they have this huge saw that they use in order to cut beams, and the yated shel macharesha is the blade of the plow. Not hard to find images of ancient plow blades. Why were they so important? Says the Bartanura. Why? Kli gadol, it was a very large utensil. Asui kisakin, made like a knife. And that's what they used in order to make the plow. V'hanach, these things, kapid alayhu, a person is very, very meticulous. Makpid. Kapid is very, very careful. Umiyacheduhu makom, and he has a designated place. Delo chazu lemalacha achriti. This is a muktzah that we're going to add in. Remember we said it's a new case? It's called muktzah machmat chisaron kis. Chisaron kis means expensive. If something is muktzah because it's so expensive that a person has a designated place for it, doesn't just handle it. It's not like a screwdriver. I don't care. I like a screwdriver. I'll use it for this. I'll use it for that. But something that I keep in a separate place. Let's say a photographer keeps his cameras because they're very, very expensive. He treats them with very care. We actually had a discussion recently. What's a cell phone? Is a cell phone muktzah machmat chisaron kis or not? And it all depends. I guess it depends on how people treat their cell phones, whether they're meticulous about them or not. I think it also depends on what kind of cell phone you have. It's a very interesting question. So that's what the Mishnah says. You can move all of these kelim other than kelim like the great saw and the blade of the plow, because those are kelim that are muktzah machmat chisaron kis. A person takes them out of his mind. The idea being that when I put it in its place, I'm not going to use it for something else. So therefore, it's muktzah. It's removed from my mindset. I don't have it in mind for Shabbat. So therefore, even if I would decide, I need to use this plow blade, I want to now cut it for, cut my cheese or something. Still, it wasn't in my mind from before Shabbat. It's from Shabbat. So therefore, it's muktzah. Next topic, a very interesting topic. Says the Mishnah, Kol hakelim nitalim l'tzorech v'shelo l'tzorech. All of this is a very broad and very cryptic passage. All utensils, all items, can be handled, can be moved l'tzorech, for their need, v'shelo l'tzorech, and whether they're not needed. But Nechemia says, ein nitalin ela l'tzorech. You're only allowed to move them l'tzorech. What's talking about? What is kol hakelim? So the Bartanura, this says the following. This is what it means. Kol hakelim shemalachtam leheter, like a kiddush cup. A kli shemalachta leheter, like arot, v'kosot, like plates and cups. Nitalim l'tzorech gufo u l'tzorech makomo shel kli. I can use it l'tzorech gufo or makomo. V'shelo l'tzorech, or even shenat l'tzorech. Afilu she'eino tzorech l'gufo u l'makomo shel kli. I don't need the kli. It's a kli shemalachta leheter. But I left my kiddush cup. I left it outside on my patio outside. Okay? And I want to move it. I don't need it, but I want to move it. Why? Mechama letzel. I want to put it in the shade. I don't want it to be stolen. So my kiddush cup, very valuable, I left it outside by accident. It's a klisha malachto leheter. So the Mishnah says, Sharei beklisha malachto leheter. In the case of a klisha malachto leheter, I can move it, whether it's l'tzorech, I want to drink from it, or I want to use it as a paperweight, or shelo l'tzorech, I want to bring it inside for the need of the kli. That's shelo l'tzorech. Uklisha malachto le'isr. From this we derive that a klisha malachto le'isr, like meduchot rechayiv, like the parts of the grinders, etc. L'tzorach gufo, l'tzorach mekomo mutar, mechama letzel mipnei ganavim asur, that I can move it for its own sake. The screwdriver I can move, but if I leave the screwdriver outside and I'm afraid it's going to get stolen, I'm not allowed to move it because it's a klisha malachto leheter, le'isr. So I made a chart. So here we have. This is the This is the language of the Mishnah. Kol hakelim nitalim shel letzorech shelo letzorech. So, the way the Bartanura explained it, it's talking about kli shemalachto leheter, litzorech gufo o mekomo, and tiltu litzorech hakli, that's called in the language of the Mishnah, okay? That's called in the language of the Mishnah, that's called shelo litzorech. Okay? That's the language of the Mishnah. But now there's another, and therefore kli shemalachto leisur, you're not allowed to move shelo litzorech for moving it to the shade or they won't be stolen. Now, there's an entirely third category of tiltul that's called what's called shelo litzorech klal. Shelo litzorech klal means, I don't know, I have my kiddush cup here. I just feel like, I don't know, moving it. I want to move it, play with it, handle it. Can you do that on Shabbat or not? Look at what the Maggid Mishnah says. The Maggid Mishnah seems to imply from here, I have to make this a little smaller so we can see it. The Maggid Mishnah says, Veda. Let's look at the Rambam for a second. I'll go back to the Rambam. The Rambam says, here we are, okay? Here we have, Kli shemalachto leheter. He says, Bein hayashal eitz or shal cheretz, whether it was wood or pottery, o shal even or stone, whatever. Mutar litaltelo b'Shabbat. You can move it on Shabbat. Bein b'shvil atzmo shal kli, whether it's for the kli, meaning, i.e., to save it from thieves or put it in the shade or whatever, in the rain, whatever. Bein litzorach mekomo, bein litzorach gufo. Whether it's tzorach mekomo or tzorach gufo. Okay, and then he says the halacha that we learned about kli shemalachto leisur. So the Bartanura says the following. This is a quote. This is from the language of the Maggid Mishnah on the Rambam. You can look up the Maggid Mishnah on Rambam, Perek Kaf Hey, Halacha Gimel. That's exactly where we were. Perek Kaf Hey, Halacha Gimel. Veda. No. Shemidivrei Rabbeinu. It seems from the words of Rabbeinu, near it seems, she'ein letaltel shum kli l'shelo l'tzorach klal. You can't move any kli if there's shelo l'tzorach klal. No reason at all. No need at all. And then he goes on to explain what he means. And he thinks that it's true that from the language of the Rambam, look at the Rambam again, he says, you can move it, the tzorah, bein b'shvil atzmo shel kli, for the kli, or the tzorach mekomo, or the tzorach gufo. But what if I don't have any need at all? I don't need it, I just want to play with it. I want to play with, I don't know, I feel like playing with my cup. Can I do that? You'll say, well, it's not muktzeh. No. The Maggid Mishnah seems to say, you ain letaltel shum kli l'tzorach shelo l'tzorach. You don't play with kelim. It's a misunderstanding of the language of Muktzeh, and it's going to shock you even more when I show you the halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says, this is in Shin Chet, I think it's Aruch Chaim Shin Chet, Sif Dalid, Kli shemalachto leheter. This is what we're talking about, a kiddush cup. Mutar letaltelo, afilu enu letzorach hakli, even if it's eno ella only for the need of the kli shema yishaber, it's going to be broken or will be stolen. Aval. Shelo litzorach klal asur litaltala. This is the psak in the Shulchan Aruch. You cannot stop move a kli just for whatever reason because I feel like it. And I think this is a fundamental halacha people don't realize that goes to the heart of what does muktzeh mean. According to the Rambam, what it means is Chazal said we don't do things mindlessly on Shabbat. When they made Gzeira Muktzeh, they said you can't touch anything, you can't move anything. Stam, even a kiddush cup. You can't play with a kiddush cup because you feel like playing with a kiddush cup. People do this. They'll play with their forks and knives at the table. They'll just play with it. You're not allowed to do that. That's called shelo litzorach klal. Why? Because the Torah, Chazal wanted us to have mindfulness on Shabbat. So, if it's a kli shemalachto leheter, and I need to use it, of course you can use it. They didn't designate against that. But they designated against wandering hands and mindlessness and playing with things and knowledge and awareness. And that comes out in this idea of kli shelo litzorach klal, asur letaltela. And that's exactly how Rabbi Lamed paskins. We paskin like the Shulchan Aruch. Okay? Letaltel otam stam shelo litzorech, playing with your silverware, stam, for no reason, asur. That's how we paskin. And it says a lot about how we're supposed to relate to and understand the halachot of muktzeh in general. We'll stop here if you have any comments or questions. As always, I know it went a little long, but I really think it's a really important halacha. Email me at rspolter@gmail.com, and we'll dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.